Hello, and welcome to the TrailManners podcast. I'm your host, Eric Manning, coming to you from the beautiful trails in Ogden, Utah, but connecting you to wherever trail, ultra, and mountain running takes us. We'll bring trail running to life with amazing athletes, discuss the latest topics, epic journeys, and get you stoked for your next trail adventure. We're sharing the moments that make life special, because even a rough day on the trail beats a good day indoors, and nothing beats time spent with good friends and great stories. Catch us here weekly for your dose of dirt, vert, and good vibes. So now it's time to top off your water, grab some cheese curds, and join us for this week's podcast, where we take you deep into the heart of our sport. It's go time. Hello and welcome to episode number 328 of the TrailManners podcast, and welcome to our first show of 2024. The TrailManners podcast is produced for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at TrailManners.com. Come back often, and please feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at TrailManners. And don't forget to subscribe, review, and rate us on iTunes. TrailManners would really appreciate any donation via our website at TrailManners.com, and please remember to share us with your friends. All links are in the show notes. Now let's get after it. All right, welcome back to the TrailManners podcast. I am your host, Eric Manning. It is 2024. It is January 2nd, 2024. We are in the new year with some new shows, some new guests. I just want to touch base real quick on our past episode, number 327, on kind of what to expect from the podcast. Went over some reviews, but I'm going to start with an apology. I was surprised that we had an ad that ran before the podcast. I was horrified. Kind of freaked me out. I got a couple messages from people, since it is something new. Moving forward, you should not hear any of those, so I don't know if I clicked the wrong box at some point, but I do apologize. It's kind of annoying, so that's my apology to anybody that heard that. So moving forward, there shouldn't be any more ads, hopefully, unless they come out of my mouth, which isn't really an ad, I guess, too. So anyway, excited about our next podcast today on the 2nd, but we do have one lined up for the 9th as well, so stay tuned for that. And I'm going to go ahead and do a shameless contest plug. If you leave a review on iTunes within the next week, I've got some brand new Path Projects hats that I will send you for free. I got a couple. So let's see if we can get some iTunes reviews cranking for my new website build, and I'll send out some Path hats for you. Brand new from our good friends at Path Projects. They're just super sexy, so you're going to want one of those. Anyway, let's get started. I do have a beer of the week. The beer of the week, it's a fun one. It's Party Pants. It's a Session Hazy IPA. This is one I found almost a year ago. It was New Year's Eve 2022, I guess, because this was 2023. Me and my lovely wife were at an arcade, of all things, because we're super classy. And tried this new beer, for me anyway, called Party Pants. It's a pretty good beer. I like it. It's out of Spokane, Washington. It's a hazy. It's brewed with Sabro, Idaho Gem, Azaka, and Eclipse. But it's a good one. It's a good tasting one. I love their logo as well. I'm trying to remember I don't have my readers on. Oh, yeah, it's a Lumberbeard Brewing. So I should have known that because of the logo. But that's the beer of the week. It's a great one. I've had it now for one complete calendar year, off and on when I can find it. So anytime I see them, I buy them. Party Pants. So that's your beer of the week, Party Pants by Lumberbeard. So here we go. Here comes our guest. First time on the podcast, and I'm not going to spill the beans yet about what the main topic is, but I'm going to welcome Kim Haslam to the mic. Hello, Kim.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. It's nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited for the show.
Me too.
It's your first time on the podcast.
On any podcast.
Any podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That makes me even happier.
Yeah,
if that's
stoked.
even possible right now. I'm so happy. But I'm going to spill the beans, but we're going to get there. We're going to slow roll it. We're here to talk about, you ran your first 100-mile trail race in 2023.
Yep, I did.
And you said, you know what? If I'm going to run 100, I'm going to just go big and run a monster. You ran the Wasatch 100 this past September.
Sure did.
How you feel right now about it?
I want to do it again.
Do you really?
I'm ready.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
So this is going to come up later. We got some questions that are come up. We got some Ask TrailManners questions, and the Wasatch 100 is going to come up. I'm not going to tell you how yet, but it will come up in my answer. But we'll get there.
Okay.
Because I'm super excited to hear the whole story. Because, wow, it's your first 100, right?
Yep.
Was your first attempt at 100.
Yep.
Wow.
It was.
That's amazing. I wasn't even sure of that one when I threw that at you. I didn't do all my homework on you. So let's just get there. We'll slow roll to get there. Like we build up to a 100-mile race. How did you get into trail running?
Well, I started running in high school.
Okay.
And then that took me into college, running in college at Utah State University.
Wow.
And once I graduated from there, I kind of did the road thing, and it just, I don't know, it wasn't really my jam. Like I wanted something that would, I don't know, I kind of got burnt out. And so then my husband and I saw a video for the Bryce Canyon 50 miler, their YouTube video, and it was all exciting and had great music, and we both signed up for it.
Wow. Had
Yeah.
he had any experience in the trail world before that either?
Nope.
Wow. How about, did he have a running background like yourself?
He started running when we started dating.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, man, she's legit.
I got to keep up with her.
So what did you run? I mean, distance-wise, event in college?
I ran mostly the 5K and 10K.
Okay.
So the longer, the better for me.
Wow. And so you got out of college. Did you run road marathons?
No, actually.
Really?
I did half marathons.
So you went from a half marathon and said, I'm going into this 50 miler.
Yeah. My first marathon was in my 50 miler. So,
Wow. I like that.
Yeah.
So your first 50 was in 2016.
Yep.
So that was the Bryce 50, and you finished in 10 hours and 36 minutes. That's
Yeah.
legit. That's legit.
It was fun.
Yeah. So that's pretty solid. So that's how you got into trail running through school, you know, getting you through that way. That was your running background. So how, you mentioned it, your husband, you know, he runs, or he ran that, and you both now run. How do you make that? You're both married
Yep.
to each other, so that makes sense.
Yep.
You have kids. How do you make that work when you're training for a 100-mile race? Because I think that's something that always is tricky.
It is tricky. It's so hard. Mostly I will take the mornings and go early in the dark with a headlamp and friends, and he will go after work. And I feel like he's been really nice, and he'll give me more priority to run when I'm training for something, and I try to give him more priority. And it's helped that I've been pregnant during a lot of those years, so he can just train freely.
So he's had his go.
Yes.
It's your turn now.
Yes.
So
Yep.
one thing you mentioned, though, because we'll get back to that too, is when you were running, you got burnout.
Mm-hmm.
What was it that burned you out? Was it, you know, the schedule? Like, did you have like more of it was like a pace and a time and mileage and this strict regimen? Was it just being on the roads? I mean, what kind of burned you out of running?
I think the intensity. I always felt like I had to run at a specific intensity and pace, and it just was too much. Like I stopped getting excited to go running, and I stopped getting excited to compete, and so it just wasn't very fun anymore.
So when you're training for like the 5K, 10K, half, it's more about pace though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you're out there to go fast,
Yep.
right? And every run, not every run, but most runs you want to get faster. If your event, you want to be faster than your last event.
Yep.
Not that you don't want to do that in trail running, but it is a little bit different.
It's
So
different.
it was more just about speed, getting the workouts in. Or was that more, were the workouts more structured,
Oh yeah.
like strides and
Oh yeah.
all the stuff? Yeah.
Lots of intervals. We would do we actually did a lot of trail running, maybe like 3 trail runs a week, but I feel like 2 of those were 5Ks. 2 of those were 5Ks. 2 of those were 10Ks. 2 of those were 5Ks. 2 of those were 10Ks. 2 of those were 5Ks. 2 of those were 10Ks. 2 of those were 5Ks. 2 of those were 10Ks. 2 of those were 5Ks. 2 of those were 10Ks. 2 of those were 5Ks. 2 of those were 10Ks. 2 of those were 5Ks. 2 of those were 10Ks. 2 of those were 5Ks. 2 of those were 10Ks. 2 of those were 5Ks. 2 of those were 10Ks. 2 of those were 5Ks. 2 of those were 10Ks. 2 of those were 5Ks. 2 of those were 10Ks. 2 of those were 5Ks. 2 of those were 10Ks. 2 of those were 5 I was lucky because my coach really liked that for us, and a lot of other schools, they didn't do that.
Just sticking to the roads and tracks and that type of thing.
Yeah, lots of flat.
But you got burnout. Did you take time off running, or did you get burnout and just kind of remember what it was like on the trails? I mean, how did you transition from kind of burnout to getting onto the trails? What was that shift?
Honestly, I think it took meeting a great group of friends to go with. And one of my best trail running friends, she just reached out to me on Strava and messaged me. I had never met her, and we met up at 5 a.m. in the dark in a parking lot.
That sounds safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't met you before online, but we're going to meet at 5 a.m. in the dark in a parking lot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the best judgment, but luckily it turned out great. Yeah. So
live to tell about it.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And that kind of like got the ball rolling, and I just became obsessed with running on the trails.
Nice. And how long ago was that, would you think, if you had to take a stab at it?
That was in actually the beginning of 2016.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you jumped in. Is that kind of how you are with everything though?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yep.
when you make up your mind to do something,
Yep, I'm all in.
let's get after it. Okay. All right. So you got into, the Bryce 50, was that your first trail race?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. So how did you train for that? Coming from a 5K, 10K / half marathon on the road, strict regimens, how did you train for that 50 miler? Did you kind of incorporate some of the same things?
Yes.
Was it very, very structured?
So I didn't have a training plan, but I just tried to run as fast as I could for as long as possible.
Isn't that simple?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
That's all it takes.
Everybody's like, I need a coach. I need a spreadsheet. No, you don't. Just run fast as you can for long as you can.
Yeah.
And try and get better.
Yeah. And try to have fun.
Yeah. Oh, if you have time.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have time. So are you about spreadsheets? Do you
No.
Okay.
I know.
I love spreadsheets.
No,
so.
I kind of wing it, and the just running fast for as long as I can, that was kind of winging it. So.
And that's real though. I mean, that's what you did.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have a plan of mileage per week?
No, I just ran with my friends.
Just if they were running. What are you guys doing today? Oh, I'll go that far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
Wow. This is interesting because it's
probably not the right way to train.
Okay, let me just say this: your first thing into it was a 50 miler, and you did it in 10:36. To me, it sounds like it worked.
Yeah, it did work.
And I think everybody's different. Mm-hmm. And then you followed that up in 2016 to the Antelope Island 50K.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you did that in 5 hours and 3 minutes.
Yeah.
That's speedy.
Thanks.
That is. I mean, it's a more runnable 50K, but there's some climbing.
That one hurt.
Yeah, because you ran as fast as you could for far, right?
Yeah.
So the Bryce is in May, Antelope Island's like November timeline, and then in 2017 you did the Snow Peaks. Used to be, and I'll say it's Squaw Peaks. I mean that's what it was, 50 miler, and I've done that one. You did that in 2017. You did that in 11:02. I didn't realize how fast you were. I didn't. I really didn't. I was looking at some of these times and I was like, okay. But now I know your training plan, so I'm going to copy that.
Yeah.
I'm throwing my spreadsheets out the door Saturday morning when I go running. What are you doing, Eric? I'm just going to run fast for as far as I can go. So I'll probably get a good 3 miles in, and then I can just taper up from there. Yeah, just taper up from there.
You got it.
Was that your training plan after the Bryce 50? Did you just kind of keep doing the fast as you can, long as you can mentality?
Yes.
Man.
I learned in college that, so I actually trained with an 800 meter runner. So she did the 800, I did the 5K, 10K, and I learned that my body worked best doing shorter, faster stuff.
Okay.
And so as long as I had the leg speed, that would kind of carry me through long races. And so I feel like I had that mentality even into like a 50 miler.
Wow. So what, if you could remember, throw like your Bryce 50, do you remember what your longest run was before that race?
Be
honest.
I think I did an 18 miler.
That was your longest run?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
I'm trying
once.
to piece all this together. This is fascinating. So I can't wait to get to the Wasatch stuff. But you're bringing these things at me like crazy. So you're running the Bryce 50. You hit mile 20. It's been a while. I'm not expecting exactly, but that's the longest you'd ever run at that time, knowing you still had like 30 miles to go.
Yeah.
What did that look like?
I felt so good.
Really?
Yeah. So my friend that I started running with, we did it together, and we had a plan going into it that if at any point one of us was feeling really good, we would just split up, and we were cool with that. And at about mile 20 is when I just felt so good.
Wow.
And I just took off.
So in the back of your mind at any point in time, were you just thinking, this stuff's easy?
No. Well, actually,
thought
yes.
about it.
Okay, yes. Until the last 6 miles, and then I was suffering.
Okay, so you did suffer at some point.
Yes,
Okay.
and then I was like, oh, this is what everyone talks about.
Okay, that makes me happy. If you didn't suffer, as you finished 50 and went, that was fun. Then I'd be like, okay, this podcast is over. So is your husband's training plan very similar because he didn't run before he met you? So is that what he thought running was too, is just that process?
Yeah, basically. I mean, he might say differently. He probably in his head has a bunch of structure, but I don't see it. So.
You don't see it. He just gets out the door and runs.
Yeah.
So you run in the morning with a headlamp with friends, and he runs in the after work, maybe with a headlamp, maybe with friends.
Yeah.
So it's kind of two different things. Okay.
Yeah. I have a treadmill that I will use a lot. I used to use a lot during nap times, and then I have a running stroller. So I feel like between morning running, treadmill, running stroller, I could get it in somehow.
Okay. All right. Well, the most important race I think you ran was in 2018.
Yes.
The Gibb Wallace 10 miler.
Yes.
That was the RD for that race. There were two of them. They were fantastic, if I remember correctly.
I hear great things about them.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. I just said that. So yeah, Joel and I put that race on, so it was fun to see. I went back and saw that you ran that 10 miler in 2018. So thanks for supporting that. Years ago, 5 years ago.
That was a great time.
It was. It was a good time. It was a good race. It was a good event. But I saw that on the list. I said, all right, this is legit now. All right, so we got away with the easy stuff. We got the 50Ks out, 50 miler, breezy, no big deal. Path to a 100 miler. When did you decide to run Wasatch?
It had always honestly been in the back of my head. I feel like the seed was planted a long time ago, even in college.
Okay.
I used to work for the Forest Service, and I remember there was a guy who came out to volunteer with us doing trail work for Wasatch. And I just remember being in awe and being like, I want to do that someday. So.
And that was when you were doing your 5K, 10K?
Yeah, in college.
Okay.
And then the first 50 I did, that's when I knew eventually it would lead to 100. So. And then Wasatch, specifically Wasatch, it was probably around 2018. I wanted to do 100 that was for me. Mm-hmm. My husband had done the bear.
Okay.
But I wanted to do one that he hadn't done.
Okay.
Just to make it my own. And I had done a lot of trail work with the Forest Service on the Wasatch course. And so I just like the idea of being on those trails again.
Well, we are pretty lucky that you can sleep in your own bed the night before a race and the night after you finish. I mean, that's wherever you are. I mean, that's nice, right?
Yep.
Especially when you quote unquote it's in your backyard, so you can know the course, feel a little more comfortable. Especially on the first, Wasatch was my first 100 as well.
Nice.
But my running routine was a lot different than yours. I was never fast or tried to go fast. I just tried to survive. But it's kind of nice to do that. So with that, I mean, what was that like? So you decided to do it. You went and did it. What was the path to that like at that point? What was your training plan? Did it change? I mean, knowing that you had to double what you did before?
So I feel like it was a long road for me, because there was having kids, dealing with infertility, just I kept putting on the back burner.
Mm-hmm.
And all through that, I just kept trying to run and keep fitness. But as far as specific training, I looked up training plans and I thought about it. I even printed it off.
What?
But when it came down to it, life and having 2 toddlers at home just kind of got to me. And so I figured just getting in the miles and putting in the time, doing some sort of vert every once in a while. My goal is to just finish.
Okay. So now that was the next question. So doing some sort of vert. Obviously, Wasatch has got a lot of vert.
Yeah.
20,000+ feet.
Mm-hmm.
So you knew that going in, and that was probably different than anything you've done before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So because you kind of, no one can see you when you're talking like I can. So you're like trying to do vert. You're kind of like, did you do much vert?
No, not really. And the shame is that Malin's is in my backyard, and I could have done that a bunch of times, but I
just didn't work out. No, it just didn't work out. Just didn't want to do it. Hey, that's commendable. So Malin's, for those that don't know, it's about a 2,000-foot climb and 2 miles. It's about 1,000 feet a mile average, and it's there's some events on it. You're gonna hear more about that soon, but it's a great trainer for vert races if you take advantage. If you don't have to, obviously, but it is in your backyard. I do have a question for you because this has come up on the podcast before, so I'm curious. We're going to have an episode about this later in the year too. Did you notice anything, I won't say drastically, but was there something noticeable after having kids? Like running wise?
Yes, like physically how my body felt.
Yeah. I mean, did you, because I've talked to some women that have had kids and they're like, I felt better after. Like when I was running, my running was better, or this was better. You know what I mean? I mean, did you notice anything?
I felt like my hips hurt more.
Oh, okay.
Like I felt like more physical pain.
Okay.
But I do feel like, what's the word? Like just my ability to suffer.
Okay. Yeah.
Was higher.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's we've had a lot of guests on the show, and that's something that's come up sometimes, and it's interesting. I mean, some of them are like, I felt like stronger, you know, kind of at the end of the day. So that was interesting. Okay, so Wasatch 100 2023, you're training for it. Why did you want to do it? Like, was it just like 'cause that sounded cool? Someone you saw? I mean, it's a big deal. 100 miles is very intimidating, I think, for anybody. Even if you've done it, it's still intimidating. It's a long way to go. But is it just one of those things, like we said, once you make up your mind, that's just what I'm going to do? Yeah,
and I like to suffer, apparently. So
you did a little suffering at Wasatch? Yeah. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So, okay. Well, you did Wasatch 31:58, and you said you wanted to just finish,
yep.
But that's sub 32 hours. You know, was that going into it, were you looking at times that you would like to have done it in?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was hoping to do it faster, but I do think I was pretty naive about that course.
Okay. In which ways? The distance?
The downhill.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't anticipate that downhill. The rocky downhill. And I don't know that anyone could have even prepared me for that.
Without being on the course
or
something like that. Because a lot of people, not everybody, there's people that will pace the course a little bit to kind of get a feel for it. I mean, again, I didn't know a whole lot before I headed into it. I paced a small section. But did you get on the course much before the race or not at all?
I ran Bear Canyon 2 weeks before the race.
Okay.
And that was pretty much it.
All right. Well, hey, so everything was a surprise.
Yeah.
See, I go into races sometimes and I wonder that. Like, is it better not to know what's coming, or is it better to know what's coming?
I feel like it's better not to know.
Okay. And I'm torn on that sometimes. And some could be training-wise, but I know I've talked to people, and it's like, oh, I try to get out on the course as much. Like, there's some parts of Wasatch that I would never do on purpose.
Yeah.
Other than being in a race.
Yeah.
I just would never do it.
But the thing was, doing Bear Canyon before kind of psyched me out. And then during the race, it was way better than I expected. So,
Psyched you out in which way?
Just how steep it was.
Okay.
And I just was like, I don't know how I'm going to get up this without just completely dying. And
still have to go farther.
Yes. But I didn't. Your wife gave me a lot of great tips, and she told me to just relax and just stay where I was in the Congo line, and I did, and it worked.
Good. Well, it's early.
Yeah.
People do get angsty.
Yeah,
There's multiple races like that. I mean, Bear 100's very similar that way too. You have a climb out of the gate, and people kind of like, oh, I'm behind my time, and man, when you've got 100 miles, I mean, the first 10. But I can see the anxiety from it. And my wife gives me good advice all the time, by the way. And I'm going to knock on wood when I say that. But so you're training for Wasatch. Again, did you have goals in mind as far as like mileage per week? Are you somebody that, tapers? Do you have like high volume blocks of training? Or again, because of the situation, you're just like, I got some time today, I'm going to just do some running.
So during the week, I like to try to run 5 to 6 days a week. And I would try to do like 8 to 10 miles during the week. And then my plan was always to do a long run on the weekends. And there were a couple weekends where I would just go down to Salt Lake, have my parents watch the kids for a weekend so I could do a long Friday and Saturday back to back. And that helped a lot. So that was my structure.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you said like during the week 8 to 10, you mean like per run, not 8 to 10 miles a week and then weekends. Okay.
Yes.
I was like, man, if you were running 8-mile weeks and crushing 100-miler, that's pretty impressive. So your runs, you try to consist of when you get out the door, 8 to 10 miles, and then just kind of go bigger if you could on those things on the weekends.
Yep.
Did you have any other races in 2023 to kind of help get ready for it, or?
No.
No?
Nope.
Okay. That seems too easy.
My last race was Gib Wallace. So
in 2018, a 10-miler.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that kind of prepared me.
Yeah, I could see that. It is a quality race. So, I mean, on the show a lot, we talk about tapering up, but this is a little different than I'm used to. Really, your training plan. And I think there's a lot of people going to be taking this away because I think we overthink running at the end of the day. So how many miles did you get? You're like, I couldn't really do much, so I'll be all right. I'll be all right. So what were the hardest parts of the race? And there might be multiple. There's like mental, physical, emotional, all the above, ebbs and flows. I mean, do you remember, running in that race thinking, yeah, I probably won't do this ever again?
Yes. On those steep, rocky downhills, what got to me was the fact that it was just taking so long. And I, in my head, expected the downhills to just be a breeze, like it's downhill, and it just got in my head about how long it was taking, and that psyched me out. But I called my husband tearfully and he just reminded me just to keep going. Yeah. And it didn't matter how long it took. And that was really all I needed. So
what if you would have gotten out on, say, one of those sections before the race? Do you think that would have helped you, or do you think you would have been more nervous to get there?
I think it would have helped me because I think I would have done Malin's more.
You might have trained differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But in reality, with life circumstances and just how busy things are, I don't know that I actually would have been able to change anything.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, finishing sub 32 on an absolute tough 100-miler, that's still I mean, finishing 100-miler is fantastic. It's amazing. But, I mean, that's still a good time that you finished in. Physically, what was that like for you? I mean, obviously, you're going way over what you've ever done before, doubling, if you will. Did it get, as you got farther? I mean, you went through the night. It's the first time you've done that, right, in a race. What was that like for you? Since you probably didn't train that way, obviously, with kids and everything else. What was that like for you?
Honestly, it wasn't that bad because I kind of pictured myself being on a morning run with a headlamp with my friends. And so it felt the same to me. And in college, I learned to break up my races into smaller parts. And I tried to do that with Wasatch. So I would try to forget about the last 25 miles I did and focus on the next 25 miles. And I feel like when it got dark, I just would try to forget about what I ran during the daylight.
Okay. And so was this the first time having pacers as well? Did you have any pacers in like your 50 or just running with a friend?
Oh, yeah. That was my first time having pacers.
It was then?
Yeah.
Okay. What was that like?
It was great.
Yeah.
I loved it.
So it's just like running with your friends, right?
Yeah.
Like a training run.
Yep.
And they kind of keep your spirits up if they can and keep things fun. So you enjoyed that part of it.
Yep.
Would you run your next Wasatch or 100 with or without pacers?
With pacers.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah. So was it with pacers, is it more the experience, it's fun with them, or help, or a combination of both?
A combination of both.
Okay.
I feel like there were a lot of things that were new to me, like getting blisters, and I didn't really know how to deal with that because I'm not one that prepares for these things. And so just having a pacer who knew exactly what to do, like that honestly saved my race.
Yeah.
And then, just being there to tell stories and talk. I love to talk when I'm running, and I love to listen when I'm running. So
what was your nutrition plan like?
I just would eat something every time I thought about it.
Okay. I'll let that slide for a second. But why we go into, like, what did you eat? Just, I mean, did you have, I'll say run specific when I say that, like gels and all the other stuff, or did you just kind of like wing it again?
No, I had gels. I love the spring gels and the Martin gels. Mm-hmm. Your wife taught me about those. And then I tried to have a lot of gels with caffeine because I found that would help me a lot. And then I would try to eat real food at every aid station.
Okay. Like chips, whatever they had that sounded good, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Pierogi.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That was the first time I've ever had that.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Have you eaten any since?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Went to Costco, bought a whole box. So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you learned something that you liked pierogies then. Did you have stomach issues at all throughout the race?
No, I didn't. I had weird breathing issues though. I feel like I get really congested and it would I don't know if this is too much. It would like kind of make me gag. So that I guess was my only.
That's not too much. There's been way worse in races. I mean, that's nothing. People are there waiting for something like, no, I'm gagging. I do that just like a normal day.
So I kind of felt bad because I felt like I was grossing out my pacers, but I'm sure they're used to it.
I'm sure they were.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. When you train, do you train with any type of nutrition?
Yeah.
Okay.
I trained with the same stuff that I used.
Okay. So like the gel, you didn't train with pierogies though, so that was new. Okay.
Yeah.
So real food was new. When you train, it's like just the gel. Do you do like any type of electrolyte drinks or just water?
I use Gnarly.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
That's what I use.
Nice. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you got your nutrition plan dialed in. You got your training plan dialed in. What would you do differently? Not for your next one, even though that's what it's going to be. Mm-hmm. What would you have done differently if you could to prepare for it? Like what things would you have changed if you could have?
Like training wise?
Just anything. Eating, training, thinking.
I would have done Malin's more.
Okay.
I wish that I had practiced running downhill more.
Okay. When you say it, was it confidence? Was it your quads burning? Was it just trying to be careful?
My
Ankles?
IT bands.
Just everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just honestly am used to running the Bonneville shoreline.
So just like rollers.
Yeah.
Yeah, just little
flat.
Running rollers. Okay.
Yeah. So we would get to sections of the race that were flat, and my pacer would be like, this is what you run all the time. This is your spot. And so we'd kind of take off. But then once it got to a downhill, I would slow down.
What about uphill? Did you feel okay there?
I felt great on uphills.
Okay.
I would much rather have done uphill than downhill.
Okay. So you'd change your training a little bit on the downhill running.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Anything else that you could think of that, like mileage differences, structured training, getting out on the course?
I wish that I had higher mileage training wise and been able to be more consistent.
What were some of the big weeks? Like besides consistency, like mileage wise, what were some of your bigger weeks? Go for it.
60.
Okay. That's great. Yeah. All right. There's people that
Maybe
go
once or twice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Averaging 40-ish?
Yeah.
Okay.
40, 45. Yeah.
Okay. Nutrition wise, would you change anything? I mean, obviously not having stomach issues is pretty freaking amazing.
Yeah, I feel like my nutrition was on point, and I feel like I moved through the aid stations really quickly.
Okay.
And so I'm very happy about that. I wish I would have had my headphones during the last the last 20 miles.
Who paced you the last 20 miles?
Just the best pacer ever. Your wife.
Oh, and you didn't want to listen to her last 20 miles.
No, I just
This is what we're getting at.
No, it's just I love running with music.
Yeah.
And I think like it pumps me up, it keeps me going, and I think during those low points that would have helped me. It would have helped distract me.
Do you think too, do you train listening to music?
Yes.
So that's the other thing too,
Yeah.
right? When you have it going, that's your normal.
Yeah.
Right. So not having that kind of can unbalance you maybe a little bit. Cause I rarely run with music. When I do, it's one AirPod, but I do notice at times when I do run with music, cause I'm usually by myself. I don't listen to headphones when I have people with me, but when I have one headphone in, my runs seem a little faster.
Yeah.
And I always seem a little sorer.
Yeah.
With headphones. So I could see that being like your comfort area again at the last 20.
Yeah. I feel like the first 25 miles, I listened to music and I felt like everything flowed. I was just stoked on life. It was great. And I think if I had had that during the last bit, I don't know, I could have maybe gotten into that zone. But
did you have some like down spots throughout the race? Like, midway through 3 a.m.s, did you have spots where they were just kind of like low areas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one aid station that I came into. It was right when the sun was coming up. And I think I expected to feel this like renewed energy when the sun came up, because people always talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really low point for me, I think, because I didn't feel that. And I just remember getting to the aid station teary-eyed, and those aid station workers were just like, what can we get you? You're doing so good. And I was like, no, I'm not. Like, yeah, right. You're lying to me. And Sarah was so great trying to get me through that. But that was just a rough patch.
That's pretty impressive, though, like having, like we get people on the show, and yours truly, I can remember some very dark places in some of the events, that you're just like, whether it's thinking of the DNFs or, having his stomach issues on one level or another, just these really deep places to dig out of. Mm-hmm. But I am one of those people when the sun comes up the next day, that does get me going again. I struggle 2 to 5 a.m., 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. Whew, that's brutal for me. You didn't feel any of that?
I didn't. I keep telling people that Wasatch was one of the best days of my life. Like, I just was so happy, and I just feel really good about it. I felt like it was this 32 hours that I was on the mountain, and it was like my time. It kind of felt like a break, and I just remember being really happy and coming into aid stations mostly feeling very happy. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Was when you came through that finish line, was your family all hanging out?
Yeah.
What was that like?
The best feeling ever.
Yeah.
I did not know that anyone but my husband and kids were coming, and I had friends and neighbors and extended family that came, and it just was the best feeling in the world.
So when you kind of come around and start seeing that, I mean, that's just got to be on top of finishing something you've been thinking about for so long. And like you said, 32 hours and happiest day of your life, but there's some struggle within that, right?
Yes.
So that's just something that is, as you were saying that, talking about that story, you just see your face, and it just shows. And I tell people, if you ever feel bad or in a bad spot, get your mojo back, go to a finish line of a race.
Yeah.
Because that's when the emotions hit. I don't care if you're first or last, right? So that was a pretty special moment for you, huh?
Oh, yeah. I'll never forget that. And I feel it does make me a little sad because I feel like there will never be anything like finishing my first 100 and having that feeling with all of them. So
Something you'll be chasing, huh?
yes.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot as you have, whether it's that or a quote unquote good day on a course, on a race, and you're like, oh my gosh, that was so awesome. And then you chase it, and it's like, next one's like, that wasn't it. The next one, that wasn't it. But you don't know. I mean, the first one's always special, I think.
Yeah.
Too, right?
Yeah.
So if there's people listening right now, and we're not talking just 100 milers, whether they want to do their first 5K, half marathon, or beyond, you're one that is, if you think about it, you're doing it, you're all in. If there's people listening right now that are kind of on the fence on those things, like, I don't know if I want to do that 5K or that half or 10K or 100 miler, what kind of advice would you give them? Knowing that you just came from basically half marathon to a 50. Yeah, we're going to wait a few years and then just tackle 100.
Just do it. I honestly, people talk to me about it and they're like, I don't know how you do it, but you can do it. Maybe it's not as fast as other people, but there's lots of hiking involved in hundreds, and you can do it. I don't know.
So you say that, like, what's your mentality? What was your mentality like with the walking and hiking, coming from the background you had? Because there's a lot of people that come from like a road running side.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a shock to the system maybe when they get on a trail because there is walking, like, well, this isn't running, or it's hard for them. I mean, what was that like for you? Was that difficult mentally?
There has been a years-long learning curve, and just trying to get comfortable with going slower. So I guess I would say my training has changed a lot from when I did the 50 milers, because now it's not just going out and running as fast as I can for as long as I can. I do try to be more intentional about pace and keeping it at talking pace. And my husband knows me and knows how I like to start out hard and get excited. And he had drilled it into my head to not do that.
Like you're at the 100.
Yeah. And he'd just be like, I'm just so worried and stressed that you're going to go out too hard and die. So I feel like I thought about that a lot. Tried not to do that.
And so that has changed your training a little then. So do you do, and I know we talk Malins, but do you incorporate, like when your runs, do you do like just fast hiking just so you know what's to come? Your body's kind of more used to it a little bit. So it's not just running then. Yeah. Okay. Do you still run on the roads much?
I do during the winter time more because my ankles are kind of weak. So
do you have bad ankles, like you've rolled them or different things, or just, okay. So that gets you a little bit.
Yeah, as I'm getting older.
Oh, don't. Yeah, I'm sorry. We won't accept that on this podcast. I'm going to delete that out of here. Getting older. Jeez. I'm not even going to go there. But what's your favorite part of trail running?
The community.
Yeah.
And just the support. I feel like, I mean, I don't want to dog on road running, but it feels like more of a community.
So what did it feel like in the 100? Before your pacers? I mean, it was just like you talked about the aid station stuff, but we talk about a lot. And when you get into a 100-mile race, after a little while, you kind of settle in with your group where you're flip flopping a little bit. Did you see that in the race as well with just the community? Hey, how you doing? And that type of thing.
Yeah, it was so fun.
That's really fun in a race, I think.
And you meet people, like I met people that I wouldn't have met otherwise, and just being out there together and suffering, I love that feeling.
You're all doing the same thing, right? So what's next?
I'm signed up for El Vaquero.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So next year is my husband's year to do 100.
Okay.
We're trying to take turns until our kids are a little older.
Sure.
And then hopefully the next year I'll do Wasatch.
Again, huh?
Yeah.
No desire to do anything else first? Just you want to do Wasatch again? Like 100-mile wise?
What? Yeah. I wanna go back and feel more confident about the downhills.
Okay. Do you have is it looking at your time? We all do it. Looking back, saying, okay, the next one, I probably could go do it in X. Is there something in your mind you've already picked out?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sub 30.
I mean,
deeper.
Yeah.
Sub 28.
I would be so happy with that.
Okay. That's doable.
Yeah.
Yeah, super doable. El Vaquero, is that your only race you think you're doing next year?
Yeah, I
50K.
think so.
Yeah, you're registered for that. That's a great one. We'll be up there.
I've wanted to do that
It's my favorite race of all time.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely, without question. The course is magnificent. Every year it's different. So I've done it, I think, 7 times now up there. It's still my favorite. Great RD, great community, old school style. Super pretty. Is your husband doing it too? No, just you.
Yep.
What 100's he doing?
The Bear.
Oh, is he?
Yep.
Nice. Well, he got in. I'm guessing he already registered because that thing's craziest wait list of all time now. Awesome. So that's next, huh? All right. Well, what else you got on the 100-miler? Any last bit before we move on? Again, that somebody needs to know about running their first 100.
Okay, this was key. And I should have brought this up during the nutrition part.
That's all right.
My husband made Cheez-It bracelets for me. So.
Okay. I'm listening. I have it in my head.
Yes.
Okay.
So the section that he paced me through, he had a couple surprises for me. One was a Cheez-It bracelet that he put on my wrist, and I just ate it like...
Oh, yeah. Kind of like those
bracelet.
little candy ones.
Yep.
Okay.
And then he also made me those peach rings?
Yep.
The candy?
Yep.
A bracelet out of those.
Wow. Did that get sticky?
I didn't finish that.
Okay.
Because I was kind of sick of sweet stuff.
Okay.
But the Cheez-It bracelet.
How many Cheez-Its fit on your bracelet?
Ooh, I don't even
20. 25.
Maybe
was
30.
It? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it poked out pretty far.
Oh, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
You poke your eye out. Okay, Cheez-It bracelet. I like it. First time I've heard of a Cheez-It bracelet on the show. Ever. Not even on the show, just of all time. Key ingredient.
Yeah.
You know what? Now I'm going to be thinking in my head what else I can make a bracelet out of for food.
I mean, there's a hole through the middle. It seems like that's what it's for.
You could do it with bacon. Just put a needle in the thread and just go, just like,
yeah.
A bacon weave bracelet.
Yeah.
I'm so into this now. Your husband's a genius. I'm into this one. I'm writing notes right now. Bacon bracelet. Oh, I couldn't do something sticky. I hate being sticky.
Yeah.
I can be greasy because I'll just lick that off. But yeah, I could figure some stuff out. What else? Anything else? First 100-miler. They're listening right now. They're excited for 2024. What advice do you have for them with their first one? Coming off your first.
Just do it and have fun. And I like to make it a goal to smile as much as possible through it. And I feel like that helps me a lot.
That's a good one. I definitely like that one. We've heard that one too, where people, especially into aid stations, right? And even if you're feeling bad, just having the volunteers there, thanking them, obviously. All right. So part of the podcast we have some Ask TrailManners questions. I'm going to let you in on this too. We had 2 this week, and I know one of them for sure is going to have some stuff on here for you. So we're going to both answer these.
Okay.
And you don't know what they are.
I don't.
I prepped because, I got them. So the first one is from Andrew from Canada. Andrew says, what are races you were highly excited about but are never doing again for whatever reason? And races that you did without expecting much but will go back because they're awesome. So while you think about it, I got mine, which is pretty rare because I don't. So am I excited to do, but I'm not doing again, is Wasatch.
Okay.
Done that 3 times. I never want to do that race again. I'm not a huge fan of the course, and I want to do others. But it's not because I don't like it. I just don't like it. You know what I mean? I don't have a whole lot that I don't like, Andrew, like that I'm never doing again. Like you said, for whatever reason, because the reason I wouldn't do Wasatch mainly is because it's in September and there's so many hundreds in that window, right? Month and 2 month window. And there's some I want to do because I'm actually old. And so I don't have a lot of hundreds left in me. But I'm not a ginormous fan of the course, especially the end. That section, for whatever reason, is a mental kick in the teeth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've run Wasatch 3 times, and all 3 times have been on different courses. So, yeah, I did the old school one. Anyway, that's one, Andrew. The other one that I was highly excited but will never do again, and this comes up a lot, is Speed Goat 50K. I've done that one about 3 times as well, and I absolutely love the race. It's gorgeous, but man, it just hurts really bad. So it's not that I don't like it, and I don't have races like that. I try and do my homework ahead of time. I don't want to run a race that is miserable other than my training. So I ask people a lot, and I've been around 20-ish years in this thing, so I get asked a lot of questions. So those are mine, and then my didn't expect much, but will go back is hard again because I do my homework, but probably one that I didn't expect as much from that I want to do again is the Red Mountain 50K. And the reason is it's in St. George, and I've run down there a lot. I've been on those trails a lot. And I thought, it's in early March, get out of the winter in Ogden. But the style of the race is one of my favorite I've ever run. You start at a start line and you go, I can't remember the distance to your aid station. It's the only aid station. There's 3 loops from that aid station. So you do a loop and you come back, you do a loop, you come back, you do a loop, you come back. And there's shorter distances, you don't do all the loops. But having the one aid station, I think it's fun.
Yeah.
And as a race director, I got to imagine that's not too hard. You can drive to it, but you have a drop bag. So that's one I wasn't expecting much from as a course standpoint, but in my mind, I'm trying to replicate the format somewhere because I love it. And the other one that I didn't expect much, but will go back and have, and I know this sounds bad, but there's a reasoning for it, is the Antelope Island races. And I say that because I grew up here. And I used to take field trips in elementary school to Antelope Island, and I thought it was stupid. Brine shrimp and mosquitoes. And so that was my first ever trail run ever in my life, the first year he did it. And I loved that race. It's just fun. And I volunteer more now. Jim's a great race director. It's a fantastic races. There's multiple throughout the year, but I didn't expect a whole lot because it was the only back, buggy and horse days when I started running. There wasn't a lot of races to go to, and that was one of the few that was close. So I went to that one like, run on the island. Didn't even train on the island before the race. Didn't even know there were trails on the island. And absolutely loved it and went back. So those are the only ones. So there's not a lot for me. Do you have any that you were excited about but probably wouldn't do again?
I don't feel like I've done enough races to know yet. Because I've loved every trail race that I've done.
You've done some good ones for sure.
I mean, if we're talking about road races, Ogden.
Yeah.
Just because the weather seems very iffy.
Every year.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I've loved all the trail races I've done.
Didn't expect much, but would go back.
Antelope 50K.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I had no idea how beautiful the island is,
right?
like on that northern section. Northern?
The backside of the island.
Oh, southern.
Southern. Okay.
I know my direction.
It's okay. It's okay. You just got to stay on the trail. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yes, on the backside of the island. Just gorgeous.
Yeah.
I loved it. So maybe someday soon.
Yeah, that's all I really have on those. It's a great question, but again, I'm very picky with my money in races. Fortunately, I've never ran a race that what I would consider just a dog that was horrible. Most of them have been actually pretty good. And the ones I have heard or know that probably don't bring a lot, I just stay away from them for whatever reason, right? So thanks for the question, Andrew. Next one, this is from Beth from Colorado. Beth says, love the Christmas gift guide shows and all the gear you and the guest mentioned. Actually went out and snagged a few things to try, so I'll keep you posted. So please do, Beth. I'm interested to see what you think and what you got. You covered must-have, must-want gear. How about some must-do races? You have mentioned Gorge Waterfall and Ice Age. Do you have any others on your list? Beth, this is a 1-hour podcast. We try to keep it under, so that's a tough one for me. But absolutely, there's races I would love to do. And there might be one or two that I really have wanted to do that I'm doing in 2024. I just haven't said out loud what they are, and I probably won't. But, there's multiple races that intrigue me that I'd like to do. The Northwest has got a special place for me, so there's races up there. Deception Pass, Rogue Gorge, Cascade Crest. There's quite a few up in that area. Mount Hood 50, Tillamook Burn, McDonald Forest 50K, and that's just in that state. We've got Georgia Death Race has always intrigued me. Because I've been back east. I'd love to run in Vermont for sure, back in the Maine, New England area, and there's a few races out there. So that's a loaded one because there's so many races I'd like to run, and the problem is there's more races starting to pop up that look very interesting too. That's a big question. I should do that. I should put a list together, like a race in every state that I'd like to do. There might be some states I skip purposefully, but like Black Hills, oh my gosh, I'd love to do Black Hills.
That'd be awesome.
Oh my gosh, that's been on the list for way too long. Black Hills and what are some more? I prepared but didn't write anything down. I think that's some. How about you? What is some races that you would love to do?
I would love to do Bighorn.
Oh yeah, I want to go back to that one. That one kicked me in the goodie bag. I got to go back to that one. Yeah, that one hurt in multiple ways. Yeah, that's a good one for sure.
I've just heard great things about it. Mm-hmm. So hopefully someday.
Nice. Yeah, there's a lot that I'd love to do. All right, so we're just going to finish up the show. Just real quick, don't forget to post your Woody Footies every Sunday on Facebook, and we are making a new website, so hopefully we can incorporate that for you non-Facebookers out there. We want everybody to participate in that. And again, Ask TrailManners segments, just send me an email, manners@trailmanners.com. Love to answer questions. They're always fun. There's some fun ones over the years. Got our website still going, our old one. Booting up a new one, but we got some merch on there you can get. There's donations. I'm shamelessly asking for iTunes reviews. Let's get some of those updated. But right when we thought we were done, I don't know if you listened to the last podcast, but we've got the lightning round for you. Oh. Do you know what the lightning round is?
Yes.
So Seth Waddups was on last week, 2 weeks ago, and Seth, if you're listening, he kind of bombed it. He did a couple good ones for sure, but I think he surprised himself. He didn't have the question. So I try to start easy to get you warmed up. So lightning round just means what comes to your mind. Can't think about it too much.
Okay.
But they got to be good answers. Okay.
No pressure.
There's only like a few. This is how we're going to end the podcast. So you ready? Mm-hmm. Best trail running advice you ever received?
To smile while you're running.
Okay, that's a good one. Running or racing superstitions?
I like to sleep in the outfit that I'm going to wear during the race the night before.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
And I've always done that.
Even if it's not an early morning, just like kind of just becoming one with I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's why I love the lightning round. Bucket list race or adventure run you want to do?
The Trail de Mont Blanc.
Oh, man. See, there's another one, Beth. Golly. Not the race, though.
No.
I just wanted to do the route.
The
I just watched a
adventure.
documentary on YouTube the other day about it, and I'm watching a second one right now, and it's got me jazzed. All right, here's one up your alley. What should be on everyone's playlist?
Ooh. I just love like techno-y club music and yeah.
All right.
And like gangster rap.
Oh.
So
That's more popular than I would think on people's playlists, to be honest with you. I've heard that quite a bit. Preston
like
Wood
badass.
does that too. Yeah. I think you feel thuggish.
yeah.
Maybe that's the word for it. Okay. What song best describes you?
Ooh. I don't know.
You're pulling a Seth. That's what I'm going to call that moving on now. You're pulling a Seth.
That's too hard.
Okay. All right. We'll skip it. We'll pass. You get one pass.
Okay.
No more passes. If you're at home and your TV's on, what are you watching?
Trashy television, like The Bachelor, Bachelorette, or The Ultimatum, or Married at First Sight.
Huh. Okay. Okay. Guilty pleasure song on your playlist.
Like guilty pleasure song. Like, because it's bad?
Something fun that, maybe like nobody would recognize. Like shouldn't be on there. Like something from Air Supply or Toto or Chicago or Britney Spears.
I mean, I am a Swiftie.
Okay, there we go. That's a good. I've got some of that on mine. Not gonna lie, my wife's not a Swiftie. I am. I would totally go to a concert if someone gave me a ticket. I'm not even lying.
In a heartbeat.
Easy. Guilty pleasure food.
Pasta.
Okay.
All pasta.
What have you learned from trail running?
To be patient, and that to push through when, like, to keep going, even when you don't feel good, because that could change very quickly.
Okay. And this might go along with it. What do you wish someone would have shared with you when you first started running? Do mail-ins?
Yeah. Yes. They have shared that with me.
It didn't work.
No.
You heard it. You didn't need it.
No.
All right. This is your last question.
Okay.
I may know the answer to this one, but we'll find out. Favorite aid station food?
Pierogi.
There we go. I was wondering if that would be it too when it popped when you said that earlier. Oh my gosh, Kim, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
It's awesome to have you. And man, it's so refreshing to hear the way you approach running. It really is, because we get so many people, you hear of others and you get them on this podcast over the years and the structures and all the other stuff. And then you do still, there's people on that's like, I just run for myself. I run how I feel. And there's people that look at that going, oh, you can't do that. You won't be successful. But I think what works for someone doesn't always work for somebody else.
Yeah. That's it.
Like what you're doing wouldn't work for me just because I can't go fast. And so I'm out. So I couldn't go fast, go long, but it makes sense too, especially if it's something you're used to. But I think you start with that and maybe incorporate mail-ins.
Yes.
Yeah, something like that. Then that's just going to help you even more. Yeah. So it's awesome to have you on, and super psyched about your finish at Wasatch. That was fun to witness from afar and hear a blow by blow from a pacer's perspective as well as the running perspective. But yeah, good luck with whatever you do next. Maybe Bighorn someday.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I mean, you're like 2 years you're doing, not this year, but the next is your next. You're still super young if you want to get a Bighorn in. That's like 4 years away then.
That's
if you
nice,
trade them off, right?
Yeah.
Trading them off, that's like 4 years.
Yeah.
Man.
Or, I mean, maybe I'll just do 200 milers in 1 year.
That's what you need to do. They're far enough apart.
Yeah.
Great spacing. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Well, thanks again for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it. Again, good luck with whatever you have going next.
Thank you.
All right. This is the TrailManners podcast, first episode 2024. Kim Haslam, this is Eric Manning, and we're out. Thank you for listening to Trailmanners Podcast. I'd like to thank Kim Haslam for taking the time to join us today. And again, congratulate her on the Wasatch 100. I also want to encourage everybody to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at TrailManners, or swing by the website at TrailManners.com. There you can click the donate button or check out the store page for some cool TrailManners gear, and both donations and purchases sure help the show. And you can always hit us up on the contact page or email me at manners@trailmanners.com and let me know what you'd like to see, who you want to hear, or even if you would like to be on the show. And also, please don't forget to share us with your friends. And if you could take just a moment to subscribe to the show and leave us a rating or review on iTunes or Facebook, I would greatly appreciate that. And don't worry, all these links are in the show notes. Until next time, this is Eric Manning, still reminding you, you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. Now go get it.